Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. A lot of news has come out this week, and it would seem that WarGaming is releasing an article on the upcoming update almost every single day. So far, what we know is a new sandbox game mode is coming with no artillery. 7 maps are coming, 4 of which are new, 3 are old. 18 modern tanks, or what they're calling modern tanks. New consumables, and 3D commanders. All of this sounds great, but there are 2 things that are concerning me. First off, modern tanks are not cheap, and I'm sure the increase in cost will be reflected in the game. These days, after all the tier rates that have been given away over the last few months, since 6.0 dropped, there have been tier rates being given away like they're going out of fashion. With all of this, earning silver really isn't an issue. What I foresee, though, is an insane amount of XP being required for these modern tanks. 261,000 XP is what you need to earn at tier 9 to be able to unlock the tier 10. But that's once you've got the tier 9 fully unlocked. The additional XP to get to the final package would mean that you need more than 261,000 free XP for the total of tier 9 to 10. I don't know what will be expected, but in theory we know that we have a potential to play up to tier 19 now. So if we assume that the progression for XP is linear, as a very, very rough estimate, if you were to just double the XP required for a tier 10 at every stage, or throughout every stage of the tier 9 to get to the 10, that's a hell of a lot of XP, and would you want to grind that much? Especially if that particular tank isn't to your liking, and especially if it means playing a stock tank for even longer, because all the packages will have more XP, which means you'll be playing stock for a much larger amount of time. It wouldn't be cheap to skip this either. If you've got more XP, it means you need more free XP, and more free XP would mean more spending on gold and all. You know, the costs just go up. They just keep going up, and I think WarGaming need to be really careful about how they balance the XP requirements. If they're not careful, I think people could quite easily be put off by the potential or the overly high, XP requirements. On the other hand, though, if you grind an extortionate amount of XP and earn that tank at that level, then, respect to you. Maybe that's what WarGaming want. They want it to be difficult to achieve, and, there's a certain level of respect to anyone that does grind a huge amount of XP. Maybe that's what they want, I don't know. But I am aware that if the balance isn't there, it could just encourage people to just turn away altogether, just say, you know what, I'm going to stick to World War II because that's just too much. Alright, so that's my first concern. My second and last concern is, for all those getting excited about no artillery, let's just break this down and take a look at what it really means. This does not mean the game you know now, but with no artillery. This means the new game mode for modern tanks with no artillery. The game mode at the moment is basically an American line and a Russian line. I know that's NATO and the Soviet Alliance or Soviet Pact or whatever it was, USSR. But it's for now, it's basically Americans versus Russians. These games will be 15 versus 15 of nothing but mediums at first, and then heavies later on. There are no TDs, there are no lights, there's no arty. At first there are no heavies, and then later on there are no mediums. And, taking this a step further, the community got bored with the 17 maps that were in the rotation at 6.0. This game mode only has 4 maps. That's 4 maps. Just put that in perspective compared to what we have now. But, hey, no arty. It's I can't help but think that WarGaming has come out with a headline that is exactly what everyone wants to hear. They know that everyone wants to hear no arty, and I think maybe they're building interest in a game mode that has no vehicle or map variation whatsoever. You know, they're using this to build interest in this mode, and it's right now saying that no artillery is present it's a true statement. But the reason it's a true statement is because there is no artillery available in these tech trees. The game mode can't be anything else. You know, it's not that they're not allowing artillery. There is no artillery to put in it, so of course it's no artillery. The game mode genuinely can't be anything else. It would be true to say that the game mode has no artillery, no lights, and no TDs. But that isn't what they've advertised. They've gone with no arty because that's what people want to hear, and they've not said anything about whether or not arty will or will not be arriving. And that's why I don't think this update is going to be exactly what everyone thinks when they hear no artillery. I'm not disappointed by the new maps or the tanks. I'm feeling a little cautious and maybe a little disappointed at the way they've advertised it. It could be the same thing that happened with 6.0. What they did with 6.0 wasn't the issue, it was the way they went about doing it. And modern tanks are not a bad idea. Neither are the new maps. I'm just concerned that the game isn't quite ready for it, because many people out there, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from with this, are saying, you know, fix the game. Don't bring out more stuff that will be sitting on top of something that isn't quite what it used to be. You know, fix what you've got, bring back the old maps before releasing new content. You know, by all means, introduce modern armor, just not now, you know? But that's my player side argument. If I were to put my business hat on and look at it from a business point of view, you know, they need to keep making money. And if they're making money from a product that we don't think is good, or as good as it could be, they're still making money. So from a business point of view, it's like it almost doesn't matter, because the money is still coming in, the revenue is still there. And that's the truth of what we find ourselves in. It's a game, but it's also a business, so the two have to find a balance. And I don't want to be too critical of WarGaming, because Minto has done a great job of talking to almost everyone he possibly can to get input and feedback. And what WarGaming do with that feedback is out of his hands, it's out of our hands. WarGaming have introduced the super test that has provided people like me with an early look at what is coming. I'm just a regular player, and they gave me the chance to test and feedback before this update goes live. So there is improvement there. There is progression, there is improvement. Things are better now than they were before in regard to new content being released. But I'm just a little cautious. I'm just a little bit cautious, and I'm aware that the potential for this game is huge. And I do not want to come across as being overly critical, but you know, I've made my point, and the potential for modern armor is huge. You know, if we want the game to stick around, it's got to develop. It has to move in a direction, because there's only so much you can add from World War II and the 50s, 60s, 70s. You know, there's only so much content there. They have to progress the game if we want to stick around, or we want it to stick around, you know. And my biggest hope is that this update is not going to be a repeat of 6.0. I don't think it will be. I don't think it's going to be anything like as jarring as 6.0 was. So from that point of view, I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be all right. And that's about all I have to say for this one, folks. Let me know what your thoughts on these topics are down below. As always, I hope you're all still keeping safe, and I will see you out there.